In today's video, I'm going to show you my current ultralight, ultra packable, and affordable, semi-affordable, compared to other things on the market, tarp shelter system that I'm currently using for bike packing. Dylan here with the Endurance Studio, formerly known as the Seasoned Bikepacker. And I'm here, as always, to share unbiased reviews, tips, tricks, and general information about bikepacking gear, routes, and strategies. I'm going to cover all the different individual components that I purchased for this system, the knots that I had to learn to tie to make the system work well and be efficient. And also, I'm going to show you my comprehensive setup and breakdown procedure. But before I get into it, a quick reminder, if you find these videos entertaining and informational, consider becoming a subscriber or consider becoming a YouTube channel member or giving a one-time donation through a super thanks. All these things are a really good way to help support everything I'm doing here at the Endurance Studio. Channel members do get some perks like priority reply to comments and, most importantly, early access to videos like this one. Your support helps me continue to produce videos like this and keep running the Endurance Studio podcast. So thank you, and let's get into it. This system is 13.73 ounces, and at the time of this video, under $170. I did test this out on the Colorado Trail, although I didn't get a ton of weather that year. I guess I'm like one of a few humans in the world who have ever done the Colorado Trail race and not gotten hammered with rain. But I did get rained on a couple times while I had the system up, so I can say it's Colorado Trail Race tested. It doesn't require any trees, so you can it is self-standing, so you can set this thing up above tree line or in a more ideal campsite location if you need to, which is nice because it is pole supported. You can cowboy camp underneath the tarp if you have a ground sheet, or you can pair it with a bivy like I've done. I'm using the Bora Gear Cuban bug mesh bivy, which comes in at about 4.25 ounces. So a very ultralight system in general. And if you spend enough time practicing the knots and the setup and breakdown procedure, you can get this thing down to about 8 to 10 minutes for setup and under 8 minutes for the disassembly and the pack up, which is just as fast as a tent. I really prefer this system because it's lighter, cheaper, and more versatile and more packable than a typical tent system. First part of this system is the tarp. This is a Bora Gear Sil Poly solo tarp. It's 70 inches by 108 inches. Comes in at 7.25 ounces, and it will run you $75, including tax and shipping. I couldn't wait for the lead time that was required before the Colorado Trail Race, so I ended up buying the material myself and basically doing an exact copy. So this is a do-it-yourself version, but it essentially is the exact same thing as the Bora Gear. Okay, second part of this is the pole. This is a Z-Pax carbon pole. It is 48 inches, and it folds down to 11.25 inches, which is really helpful to fit in those smaller frame bags. 2.8 ounces, and it ended up running me $45, including tax and shipping. One thing to note is you do need to wrap a little bit of Gorilla Tape on here, so you'll see why later on. But this pole is very durable, very sturdy, and lightweight and cheap. Okay, the next bit in this system is the Z-line cord. I bought 50 feet of this cordage. It is Dyneema or Cuban fiber. It cost me $15, including tax and shipping, when I ordered it with the carbon pole, and it weighs 0.74 ounces for 50 feet. And the last component of this system are these MSR groundhog stakes. You can buy 6 stakes for $35, including tax and shipping, and they come in at 0.49 ounces. Once you receive your Z-line cord, you'll need to do a little bit of prep on it. Go ahead and measure and cut your cord into the following lengths and use a lighter to melt the ends to prevent fraying. 1 piece at 20 foot for the ridge line, 2 pieces at 4 foot each for the foot corner guy lines, 2 pieces at 6 foot each for the head corner guy lines, 1 piece at 7 foot for the head center guy line, and 2 pieces at 1 foot each for the Prusik knots. You'll need to learn 4 different knots, 2 of which you'll use for your initial tarp prep, and 2 you'll use each time you set up and break down the tarp shelter system. First is a Siberian hitch, also known as an Evink hitch. The hitch is known for having a tying method suitable even when wearing heavy gloves or mittens in cold climates. I'm right-handed, so all these knots will be tied from this perspective and using this thicker cord for illustrative purposes. First, wrap it around from right to left. Hold both strands in your right hand. Make a gun shape with your fingers. Wrap the short end once around your fingers. Then take those 2 fingers and wrap them underneath the long end of the cord, then pinch the short end of the cord. Then you can pull that through with what's called a bite and pull it all tight to create the Siberian knot. Then pull it tight. To release, simply pull on the end. You can go ahead and use this knot to attach the guy lines to the tarp foot corner tie-outs and the 3 head tie-outs. Next is the Prusik knot. These can be attached to the main ridge guy line for extra tension and a bonus tie-out for a bivvy to keep the mesh netting off your face. First, take your 1 foot piece of cord, fold it in half, and make a simple fisherman's knot. Place it up against the taut line with the knot facing up. Wrap it once on the inside, then wrap it twice on the inside, then wrap it a 3rd time on the inside of itself. And clean up the coil to look similar to something like this. The cool thing about the Prusik is it will slide freely when it doesn't have tension, but it will lock into place when there is downward and lateral tension applied. You can leave these 2 Prusiks permanently on the 20-foot ridge line for future use. All right, so now you can forget about those 2 knots that you just learned to make room in your head to learn the next 2 knots because these ones are critical. You're gonna need to practice them over and over and over again and get really good at them. The trucker's hitch is what you'll be using to attach the tarp guy lines to the stakes so you can create enough tension. First, make a loop, then pass a bite through to make a slip loop. Then wrap around the stake or tree, then pass the end once, then twice on the inside through the loop, which creates an auto block system to retain the tension. Then create a halter hitch by creating a bite with the remaining rope. Then pass it under and through. To loosen, pull the end to release the halter hitch, then pull in the opposite direction of the stake or tree. Then pull both sides of the cord to release the slip loop. And finally, the Clove Hitch is what you'll use to connect your center head guy line to the carbon pole, as well as the main ridge line to the carbon pole for additional stability. I'm saving the easiest one for last here. First, create a simple loop and hold with your left hand. Then create another simple loop with your right hand and position the right loop underneath the left loop. Slide this over the carbon pole and pull both sides to tighten the Clove Hitch. To remove, simply give a little slack on both sides, then slide the Clove Hitch up and off the pole. So I was not a Boy Scout, and trust me, these knots were awkward at first and very foreign to me when I first started to learn them. I started off by just setting a reminder to practice these knots on a daily basis. I kept some extra cordage nearby, and every day I practiced on a table leg or a chair leg. Then once I got that muscle memory ingrained with the knots, I moved on to the Tarp Setup and set a reminder to practice that once a week and did it for about 6 months. My goal before the Colorado Trail Race was to get so accustomed to setting up and breaking down this tarp shelter system that I could do it sleep deprived, exhausted, and in a full downpour and just go into autopilot and have that thing set up. So now you know what materials to buy, how to prep the cord and the tarp, and what knots to learn. So the only thing left is to show you my setup and breakdown procedures. Now that we have learned all the different knots, I can show you how to set the tarp up. So let's get all the different pieces out. Got my tarp stakes, and I've laid the tarp out, identified the top and bottom and the foot and the head. So this will be the foot end. Actually, I'm going to turn it around so you can see the inside. Let me flip this around. All right, so we'll run, this is the foot end and this is the head end. I know the difference because I have the 3 pieces of cord on the head end. Get it laid out here. Okay, let's stake down our 2 feet. Now, as you can see, we have the Siberian knot there holding the cord to the tie out, and we're going to do a trucker's hitch on the ends so that we can have enough leverage here. 1, 2, pull that tight and lock it into place. Now I'm using these knots so that it's very easy to remove for the disassembly part. Okay, let's do the second foot. Trucker's hitch. And lock that into place. Okay. Now let's do the center pull, tie out with our Gorilla tape here at the top. And we're going to use a Clove Hitch here. So we'll do 1 loop, 2nd loop behind it, run our thing through, and that Gorilla tape prevents it from sliding down there. Okay, pull it tight. Grab 1 more stake and stake this down. That's a good spot. And it's kind of a windy day today, so it's a little more adventurous. Same thing, trucker's hitch. Pull it tight, you can really get some leverage on it. And lock it into place. Okay, let's do the sides. Quick note, I didn't have 6 of these MSR stakes, so I'm using a couple of other ultralight stakes I had on hand. All right, let's do 1 of the sides. Now I like to do it kind of, you can do it wide if you want a little more space underneath, but if it's looking like weather, you may want to go for a little more of a windshield and have it a little less space on the inside, but a little more protected from the elements. So I'm going to simulate that right now. And I'm not going to pull this side too tight because I'm going to create the tension on the other side there. Feed another one through here. Okay. All right. Oh, that's too much. Let's loosen that up just a little bit. There we go. And lock, whoops. And lock that into place here. And let's do the other side. That looks like a good spot. 1 loop, 2 loop, and that should pull tight. Yeah, there we go. Now I can really tighten this thing up, get some tension on that. Perfect. And we're gonna do a knot to lock that into place. Okay, now if you're doing kind of a minimalist, quick setup, you can pretty much leave it at this. Let's straighten that out there. You're pretty much good to go. Now, if you're not looking like a really bad weather or torrential rain, I don't really think you need to put the guy line out there. But I'll show you that as an extra step here. So you take your guy line, and we're gonna open it up. Okay. And we got our 2 Prusiks in there. Okay. So the guy line, we're going to do a Clove Hitch on top here. That's going to lock it into place there on the top, and then head around to the back. Grab it out the bottom. And do another knot here. For the foot. Now this guy line's pretty long, so if you did want to, adjust it, have it in between 2 trees, I left it long enough for that. All right, we're going to tighten that up and lock it into place. Okay, now this Prusik here can be, I think that's how you say it, can be attached here to the, you can do this a couple different ways. I'll just loop it in itself for now, just to create a little tension. And with these knots, when you tighten them up, they actually lock into place. So we'll just pull that tight there. And it creates a nice tight ridge line there on top. Okay, and that's it. We're all set. We can also crawl in here and grab our other Prusik and use that here to attach the tie out on our bivvy to keep the bug mesh netting off of my face. So that's what I got that one there for. Okay. All right, so the beauty of these knots are they are very quick to disassemble. The disassembly on this whole system is faster than the assembly. And these knots are really easy to get untied, which is great. That's why I really spent the time to learn these knots over and over again so that it could just be autopilot. So let's disassemble. We just do everything in reverse. So the first thing we're going to do is take down our ridge line. Let's start in the back. And on these knots, you can actually just pull to release the lock, and then you can pull in the opposite direction to loosen the tension. And it lets it go. And then you're good to go. Pull it out and pull that and you're good to go. All right. Let's get rid of this. And head up to the front. pull this clove hitch out. And once there's no tension on that, it just releases. And wrap this bad boy up. Okay. Then we're going to pull our 2 head ends, corners, next. So let's pull those out, back, and it's off. Very, very simple system. Out, in, and then I kind of use this cord to pull these up. Okay, and then we're gonna drop our main top here, the center of the head, pull that out, and again, clove hitch. Once that's loose and has no tension, it loosens up, and you can just slide it right off, in theory. There we go. Okay, break our pull down and then do our last 2 attachments at the feet. Okay, and the last one, and I don't have a pull string on this. And we're free. Now we'll pack it up. And that's it, all packed up. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.